interesting.
You're listening to the Go Lightly Martial Hour on freedomtalkradio.net. freedomtalkradio.net.
Well, hello there. Have you got the camera going back?
We're going.
Oh, you going? Are you sure?
Well, it is. Got the
It
red
is.
light on it.
It's got the red light
I'm
on.
gonna
You
keep
can see
watching
that
it.
it's showing the recording.
Yeah.
All right, let me get through the prelims, identifying what day.
Well, I've got the camera on the Shroud of Turin because I like to look at see if there's any more updates on the Shroud because
Yes.
the Shroud usually has Barry Schwartz, who is a Jew, and it's like putting a fox in front of a charge of chickens.
Yes.
I've contacted him, and we've contacted him, you've contacted him over the years, tell him what it's all about, but he never mentions it, of course.
No, of course, none of them do.
The idea is to, okay, if you can't stop it, control it. And this is what they do. So this photograph I've sort of zoomed in at the moment. On the left of your screen is the actual face of Jesus on the shroud. And on the right is my face. And the shroud image is superimposed or vice versa. To show that the bone structure is identical, the eye spacing, the shape, moustache rather, the nose shape, the beard, and if you know me as people do personally, my beard is that shape. It doesn't grow up onto my cheeks as most beards do on people.
That's right.
And what it is a negative, that when you take a photograph of the negative on the shroud, it shows an old man.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea being is that it is an old man. It's because I'm now 71 years old and I've been describing what the shroud is all about for years. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit, and then where you took the photograph, how it came about, and we also took one in Rome, remember?
Yeah, so this is the one from Hurghada that you're talking about. Let me see. So,
That's
yes, that's the Hurghada.
Well, look at this up close now. This is what it's up close, right?
Mm.
So I mean, you take the eye spacing, the eyebrows, the length of the nose, the size of the moustache and the shape of my moustache.
Mm.
There's the bottom lip. The lip is slightly different there because all the teeth are knocked out up top. So now my lip is down slightly lower because my teeth are in my head. But you see the cheek mark there.
Yes.
And the eye and how it's all marked. It's all 100% identical. So if you was identifying this as a body in a morgue, you'd say this is him. And then the body walks in, you say, oh, that's it.
Well, it's what about the child that walked into your office in Melbourne when you were
Little
at
baby
Bell
boy,
Street?
he was born on the 10th of January. He was just over 2.5 years old. And I had this in the green image up on the screen.
Right.
And that's the 3D image, right?
Yes.
And he walked in and he's pointing to me and he's saying, that's you. Right?
out of the mouths of
Out
babes.
of the mouths of babes, yeah.
And this is why, as Jesus, you warned the adults of the time and of this age that unless you become like a small child, then you will not see nor enter the kingdom of God. Now, let's talk about the seeing. You also said in the Beatitudes that one of the promises was that the pure in heart shall see God.
Well, you can't be much purer than a little baby boy.
Exactly. Nor Pope Benedict, who saw God. And how do you see it? It's not a floaty ghost in the heavenly realm. The kingdom comes to the earth, so in order to see God, you will see that his image, the image of Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall, is indeed the image of the Shroud of Turin. That's what it's all about. It's really pretty simple. You couldn't have made it much easier. I mean, really.
Yeah, but you're dealing with a brainwashed masses.
Yes.
You're dealing with the churches that are all totally Jewish.
Yes.
I mean, they have the Torah, and that's part of the Christianity. When in actual fact, the Jews the other way around, they have the Torah and nothing else.
Yes.
Where what you should have is Genesis and then the next 4 books, Exodus, Deuteronomy, Leviticus and Numbers taken out, because that's all satanic.
Yes.
And then you go to your Isaiah prophecies, Job prophecies, so forth. And then, of course, just your Gospels and Revelation.
Mm.
Books of Peter, 1st and 2nd Peter. And you'll get a good insight on what's going on.
And all the writings of Paul have been have led the many along the broad road of destruction. He was an infiltrator, a devil. He's one of them. It's why the world is...
Now, what we're going to show you is what didn't show up yesterday when we was doing the...
yeah, well, let me
video.
tell the people what happened, because they're probably wondering what happened to show 293 from yesterday. You were over here on the radio listening to it, and then
All right.
Yah was recording. Now, just make sure that it's still
It's going,
recording. Okay, it's still recording. We recorded the hour yesterday, and when Yah took the card out to put it in, bottom line is it stopped after what, 10 seconds?
10 seconds. Yeah.
10 seconds. So it didn't record. Now, it was appropriate because Yah had a 32 gig memory card in the camera. Now, yesterday's show was about the miracle of the placement in my Google program, the pin at what turned out to be 105 Rothschild Boulevard, Tel Aviv, Israel. And of course, Rothschild, Beelzebub, he's the ruler of hell. Israel being its minions and all those who serve Israel, etc., and why the world is hell today. Anyway, I called the show Rothschild a big empty because that is the measure. We're measuring from that point to the South Pole, 7324 nautical miles. It is about emptying, a pouring out, casting off, as in the earth, empty. So I called it Rothschild, a great big empty, or whatever it was. And the bottom line is that the camera did not record. So Yah just ended up saying to Joel the 32 gig was empty.
Yeah.
Anyway, a bit of a...
Well, now, just for those who are tuning in for the first time, I was born in the pit of hell,
Yes.
where you would expect Christ to be. Because if you look at the Apostles' Creed, he goes to hell and then 3 days comes back. Okay, so we've talked about realms within realms, which are the wheels within wheels of Ezekiel. The number for Ezekiel in concordance of the King James Strong's Concordance is 3168. And 3168 is very significant because in Greek it's Lord Jesus Christ, Lord being 800, Jesus 888 and Christ 1480, so a total of 3168. So on the day that I was born, the distance from measuring from Jupiter, the biggest planet, then to Saturn, into the Sun, and you take those 6 planets and you take my body weight of 222 pounds, and it is the same number in pounds on all of those planets total as the area of the Shroud of Turin, 7353. So the shroud is 171 inches by 43 inches. And if you look at all your documentaries on the shroud, they very rarely will they say it's about. It isn't about, it's precisely 171 by 43 inches.
That's with the second piece sewn into position.
Now, I told Barry Schwartz and all these people, Jackson, all of them, going back in time 20 years ago when I started getting on the internet. I was telling all these people what the shroud was all about. And the image is a 71-year-old man, because when you take a photograph, which is what Pia did in 1898, May the 28th, wasn't it? He realised that it was a negative, and so he then developed it, and then it turned out to be a positive. And what did it see when you take a negative image of an old man with white hair? Is what it was. So it turned out that when he produced the positive, it's an old man with white hair. Right? So go back to the negative, it's opposite to that. So what they don't realise, and what I told them is, it's me. This is the ghost. It's the comforter. It's the Holy Ghost of Jesus is God the Father. And that's where Muhammad had it right. And if the Muslims ever wake up that they're reading a heavy, very bullshit story, what Muhammad actually said and what actually made it into the Quran is all Jewish. So what you have then is he said that he wrote to the various kings and rulers around Arabia at the time, and the letters still exist. And the letters say that he believed that the Virgin Mary gave birth to Jesus, who was, his soul was the Father, Yahweh, but of course he calls it Allah. Now that was correct. Had they left it, it would have been a overturning of the church at the time, and this is why the church had to do something about it, because they was already by 600 AD controlled by the Jews. So Muhammad was murdered. He had 2 wives, not 9 as they talk about it. He had 2 wives. His second wife was a Coptic Christian. Her name was Maria. And he had a little boy that lived till the age of 1 year and 10 months, probably murdered.
They called him Abraham.
That's right. So the Muslims had it right, but since the Jews had taken over, they just put in the bullshit to the point where Judas is on the cross as opposed to Jesus. There was no resurrection. There's Jesus and is the son of the Father, and that's it. There's no connection. The soul is not Jesus, which was the Father was, and that's what the Holy Ghost is. So the Holy Ghost now becomes a spirit that everyone receives, and you're going to get all this wonderful wisdom.
Christ consciousness.
That's right. And it's all bullshit. You can't take on the mind of God. You can't take on Christ consciousness.
And you don't go back to God.
And you don't go back to God according to the Hindus in 427,000 years. You can't become one with God again. All you can be is living in paradise with Christ in control, and you do what he says. That's why it says he will rule with a rod of iron. I can bet your life that's how it's going to be, because no one's going to get around me. So I'll show you what we're talking about here. On the morning of April 11th, 2015, a miracle occurred. Martha looked in, this is my wife, into Google Earth, sitting across the table from me. And in capital letters, she saw an address, Rothschild Boulevard, Tel Aviv.
No, I didn't see that at all. It was just pinned, Rothschild, Israel, Tel Aviv.
Oh, sorry, in capital letters.
In capital letters.
All right. I'll change that.
So I didn't think about it at the time, but later I thought, okay, is it that Supreme Court building or whatever? It was only until I began investigating that I realised that the main street of Tel Aviv is called Rothschild Boulevard. So then I took a close look at where the pin was, down into street level, turned to the left as if I'm standing in the street, and lo and behold, there it is. The pin is right outside 105 Rothschild.
So I've got it on screen now, the actual screen capture of it from your computer.
Yes.
And there it is. I've magnified that little number there and it is 105. Well, I'm born on 105 Rothschild Avenue in Australia.
Yeah.
And it's very appropriate. Now, as you all know, I measure everything and how it has to be. There it is zoomed in, 105. So what we get then is from 105 Rothschild Avenue in Australia to 105 Boulevard, Rothschild Boulevard in Tel Aviv. The distance in miles is 7651. Now that's very appropriate because we've got Jeremiah 48:12. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will send unto him wanderers, and shall cause him to wander, and shall empty out his vessels, and seek the bottles. Right?
Okay, that's where it skips a bit. The 765
I'm going to change it right now.
Yeah, 7324 that you've already covered to the South Pole. We're doing this again because it did not record for the YouTube. So for those who heard it already over the radio, then it's revision.
All right, so the distance, I'll just grab another computer. Oh no, I've got it here actually. Oh no. I'll bring it up on the screen. I need another pair of...
Oh, you do? Here, have these ones. I'll...
For the close-up work, I need another pair of glasses. Alrighty then. Is it there or not? Alright, I'll go to the other computer.
What are you looking for?
I want to show the distances of it as I measure it. I've got it in this program here. I'll do it from here.
Alright. Alright, I promised we have a lady who's... she's a lovely lady, and we met her through eBay. She is one that ordered the black salve, and then we also sent her the herbs and the calcium hypochlorite, so she has been cleaning up her body. And I've been communicating with her. Last night I sent her information about Benedict's announcement. Anyway, she's a wake-up, so she's receiving it all. She just left a message this morning. I'll read. Her name is Patricia. I said I'd say hello, so hello, Trish. You felt right from the beginning in your first communication, Trish. She said this morning, hi Janelle, very interesting that Benedict is Peter and that he is alive still after showing support to Brian. I have read a lot of stuff on Project Camelot, re whistleblowing and assassinations of good folk over the years. Hunting out truth really does it for me, just love it. I'm still reading the files, but I'm not surprised by anything so far. So I'll read my response. Always good to hear it again. Good for you. He is alive because he is protected and will return. He got his own... I couldn't remember exactly if I'd sent the ICC court documents. I know I haven't because her file is... But she doesn't know what happened to the others surrounding it, so I'll get to that tonight when I send her information. I said he got his own back when in July 2013 a statue he commissioned of the Archangel Michael was unveiled at a public gathering within the Vatican Gardens. Francis had to invite Benedict, the first public appearance together since Benedict's return to the Vatican monastery where he lives. The face of the statue is Brian's face. Benedict had the last laugh. He must have contacted the sculptor and given him his photograph. We went to Rome for 6 months in 2013 to be close to Benedict, knowing we could not get to see him. However, we posted information to him through the Vatican mailbox, etc. Then we went to Egypt for 10 weeks and climbed the altar to the Lord on October the 11th, 2013. Brian had been targeted once more, and an attempt to kill him through a series of 11 heart attacks did not stop him. When we got home, January 2014, tests revealed half his heart was dead and it does not affect him. They have tried for many years to kill him from a baby. It doesn't work, so now they go out of their way to stop people finding him. And then I said, when Benedict returns, 1.2 billion Catholics will learn the truth, and the quantum will escape the control of the evil force that has controlled since before the cross. I just said, I will send you more today. Your email delivery box is small. She left a message and said, Benedict returns, quote, gave me shivers in a good way, haha. And then she says, thank you again for sharing this amazing stuff. And then I said, okay, going live now, talk later, I'll say hello to you. So hello Trish. And her daughters, her family. She seems to be surrounded by some lovely women in her photograph. So this is from somebody who found us on the eBay looking for the black salve. And
Cancer.
Exactly.
All right, now I've got this other computer going over here. I'll run back to it, and I'll show you here the distance to the South Pole, which is very significant, to Rothschild in Boulevard, which is there. The distance is 8434. So then we can bring it up in the Bible. Look up the number 8434, and it's from posterity 3205. So to be young. Okay. So the Rothschild point being here, we can now measure over to Rothschild, where I was raised until I was 942 days old. And the nautical miles is 8812, and US miles rather, and the nautical miles is 7651. So when you look up 7651, 7651 it is the number 7, and it's found in 1 Chronicles 5:13. And that is, and their brethren of the house of their fathers were Michael and Meshullam and Sheba and Jerai and Jachan and Zia and Heber, 7. So, what we have then is the link genetically. That is, if you were to do it mathematically, to say this is an impossibility unless the mathematics are, in the name or order of, the numbers could be 1 in a trillion, that this could be so, that it is, because the numbers here, Jachan and Zia, this is the age of my third wife, who was the mother of Rhiannon, gave birth at when she was 32.75 years old, and this number here, this is giving birth to her daughter that's born in Geelong, Australia, sunrise to sunset 888 minutes, which is Jesus in Greek gematria. Then you got my daughter, which is the number for Zia, and that number is 777 days, or in years 2.127 years. So that number there is 2127. It's only found once in the entire Bible, and Jachan is only found once in the entire Bible. So what's the mathematical odds that they'd be side by side out of 800 or 650,000 words? Well, just work that out. But then you go on to the age that, now this is Rhiannon, Michelle and Nicole all together here. Then you got my daughter Tracy, who was 11.626 years older than Rhiannon, the daughter of Mary Magdalene. That's who she is, Mary Magdalene. And she is, this is Michelle, she is the same number in days younger than I, 1162.6 days. And my girl's mother, I married when I was 1162.6 weeks old. So that's 1162.6 weeks. And that's the width of the antechamber, 116.26 in the Great Pyramid. Now times pi, and it'll give you a significant number. So you've got to do everything by numbers. So you take that times pi, 3.14159. That gives you 365.24 days, which is the base of the pyramid laid out on pyramid inches in the completed form, because the pyramid was built and then moved inwards 286.1 inches. So I could go on for a day and a half about that one. But the point is, all these numbers here, I've tried to put into a context, always taking in mind there might be new people watching it. So, as I was putting this together, I do things like show you the 3168 number, how important it is in this context, because what we have here is measuring from a point in here, right, which is a sword that appeared in the software of my Magellan, and I've got 8 different Magellan products, and each of them has this sword in it. That's exaggerated there so you can see it. And the distance straight down 2424 miles is Jesus in Greek, concordance numbers. The distance from the point of that to there, so you're going straight up to there and straight down to the pyramid, is 3168 miles to there. Then you add in 2178, so you put the 3 numbers together and it gives you 7770 miles, which is a sacred number, which 777 taken as days is 2.127 years, which is there, back in the 1 Chronicles 5:13, which is identified by the distance, so let's see if I can find it here, that one, from there to there, that gives us that number there, which is the number 7, which is in 1 Chronicles 5:13, which is there. All right, see if I can highlight that. Or, well, then you can see that. So there's your numbers. I'll just zoom in a bit for you. There you go. So there's the numbers of each word: brethren, house, father, Michael, Meshullam. Meshullam is Marshall, by the way. Sheba. So there's your number there. And then you've got another one down here, which is the number in miles from, nautical miles from Tel Aviv to Sydney, where I was born, same number, Rothschild, and there's a 76, what is it, 21? There it is there. So,
So what does it mean applying it to Rothschild itself, this entity? This is because it goes to 7 times. Well, that is the number of times that the soul is given up to get up.
Reincarnation is correct, but to see the devil, being the ruler of the earth, had invented the Sanskrit and then the bullshit reincarnation in Buddhism from the original Hinduism, and now if you're a bad person, you've only got to wait 427,000 years before you become one with God. And it talks about how many billions of years old the earth is and how many billions of planets and stars there are out there. And this is could only be known in those times from Cain, because they're all very educated, and it was brought through the flood by Ham. And Ham is the originator, the evil one, of all these cults and religions. And Solomon. Solomon's temple, for example, was built by the help of demons. Ham was the one who identified these symbols that was drawn from a rock. Now this is all legend, of course. It's to tell you, that's not what happened. It's just to tell you that it's all comes through the Jews. That's what it boils down to. So you can have all your parables in the world, but we're talking about Ham, we're talking about the Shemites, we're talking how they've taken over from Shem. Why didn't they become the Hamites, the Jews? Well, because they don't want to be Ham, they want to be Shem. So they become Semites, and Shem in Greek is Sem, S-E-M, that's where the word comes in. So you got these Mongols out of central Russia, the Khazars, that are not genetically linked to any Jew, and even if they were linked to any Jew, the Jews of the time of Jesus don't exist today because they're all basically wiped out, interbred and taken care of. And the real story is about the Essenes that do still exist, and I'm one of them. You're one of them, my dear, looking at me, I see with your beautiful blues. Right? So this is work in progress, so I won't go too far into it. But what we have then is the 7 names. We're looking at the names here. We add all the names together and it gives you 31106 divided by 7 is an average of 4443. Now, that is how many times the word God is found in 3877 verses. The 3877 is the distance from my birthplace, the maternity ward, St Margaret's, to the South Pole in miles. So the 4443 and the 3877 go hand in hand. That's where I was born, so you've got the two numbers of it. The 712, the 2 is father, the 714 is, of course, Isaiah 7:14. Now, Isaiah 7:14, can you read it for me, darling?
I can.
I've got it here somewhere, but I haven't put it in order yet because when I do things, it's all over the place. Here it is. Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign, like that's what I'm giving you. Behold, a virgin shall conceive. Well, that was Daphne and it was Mary. Daphne is the most royal person. And bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. Now, the house I was living in with Mary, the distance from Mount Kosciuszko. Now, the reason Mount Kosciuszko is important, because it's all based on the measure of man. That's me. So, refer to me as the angel in the book of Revelation, the measure of the angel. And the height of Mount Kosciuszko is 2228, and that's the highest in metres, it is, of Australia, highest mountain in Australia. The distance is 169.4 nautical miles to where I was living, where all this was done, with Mary Magdalene, who was Michelle Nye, and her daughter Rhiannon, and my kids and so forth, how they all fit together. And this one is referring to this here. Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel. That number there is 169.4. So that's the distance from the 2228 height in metres of Mount Kosciuszko. But the value of all this is 8880, which is the age I was when I was in Port Alberni when my daughter was born, which gives you the age difference between Zia, which is Rhiannon, and Mary Jacan. That's her number there, how old she was when she gave birth to her daughter Rhiannon in Port Alberni, in Geelong, Australia. And it was the same as the 888 minutes when my daughter was born, when I was 8,880 days old in Port Alberni, Canada. When the sunrise to sunset was 888 minutes. But I married her mother when I was 22.28 weeks old, which is, 22.28 years old, which is 1162.6 weeks old, is 22.228 years, all right? The width of the antechamber. So the age difference between this child here and the daughter of this lady here is 11626 to my oldest daughter, Tracy, born in Port Alberni, when I married her mother, when the mother was and I married on April the 4th, 23rd, sorry. So the 4th, 23rd in 1966. 1966 is Lucifer, which brings me to telling you why you have to suffer in this life. You ain't going to make it into the paradise unless you have suffered in this life, or you're a child. So if you haven't suffered at the hands of the Jews and the world at large, then you will certainly not make it. Now remember those two ladies, Italian ladies we stayed with them?
Oh, yes.
What beautiful people they were. They had horrendous suffering in their life.
Josephina and Louisa.
Louisa asked me why the suffering. Because she had a son, was born Mongol.
Oh, yeah.
Louisa, a little older. I think she was 1.6 1.964 years younger than me.
694 years, yeah.
Emmanuel.
Older than you.
No, she's younger than me.
She was younger, was she?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then the other sister was another number.
It was 537 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the distance into
yeah.
So we explained all this to them. Now we've got a language barrier, so we're sort of stuttering on.
Using Google
trying to get this
Translate.
and translate. But
they received, they understood, they were
she
they were so
asked
happy.
me, Jessica asked me, she said, what should you read in the Bible? I said, just read the Gospels.
Yeah,
Don't read nothing else.
yeah. And she says, how can I be like you? And we said, you already are.
Mm.
They were so kind to us, and that was the 6 months in Rome. We rented their upper room.
Mm.
And Jessipina had suffered terribly. She lost her husband and then lost her daughter. Her daughter just went missing, and
Lost
then she lost her other daughter to death. Then lost the husband to the daughter, and before their husband died, the government took the grandchildren away because the mother had died. So terrible death. Yet she
Still had faith in Jesus.
still had faith.
And we show up at her door, right? So
And she ended up finding the daughter that had disappeared for 7 years, no word at all. While we were there, she found her and was negotiating her.
now I always have difficulty putting these together for new people because I want to talk about 1,000 different things to make it all fit, but really I can't. So it's now, if you haven't seen enough now, with just this little bit of information, the leap of faith is there.
Yeah. Now, we've got a few people to say hello to because they're gathering in the chat room. Hirad, hello. Hi to Hirad. Bulla to Ross. G'day, and then Bulla to Ross. Alrighty then to Adam. And hi, Jonas. Thanks again for coming over to the site and joining us. And Jonas just said, that's cool. Yah blows my mind with his coincidental perfection. The Filipinos have a saying, he quotes, we are put on the earth to suffer. Heard it years ago, never understood it.
That's right.
Yes.
You have to suffer because if you accept this world as being a perfect place, which it isn't, then that's it.
There's something.
You can't inherit the kingdom of God, which is the paradise which you all long for.
Yes,
Otherwise, what's the point of me coming?
totally.
If they all got it right, I might as well stay where I was.
Yeah.
So Rothschilds are going to be out here very shortly.
Now Russell says, I keep getting the feeling the day of the Lord is very soon because Gabriel is here now with a question mark. Howdy, Andrew. He's coming. Ross, we've had some very weird things happen just recently. Hearing Gabe's voice in the night, which is Yah's voice. Yah is Gabe. Gabriel is the heavenly presence of Yahweh. So Yah's here in his flesh body, and Gabe looks like Yah, the old man, the moustache, the shrouded between the whole ball and wax image of him. Now, we went to bed the other night and it was something totally weird, but I heard as clear as day Yah's voice saying, it was something like that, the moon is gone, something like that, something which was quite ridiculous. It sounded like that, but the moon is gone, and Yah heard it as well. Now, he has heard Gabe's voice many times because it's Gabe. You know, we're in this vessel on the earth. Yah's doing the work that he's doing. God come to the earth doing what he's doing. And the angels have been on autopilot from the beginning. They know the end from the beginning, etc., etc. So, as far as we in this body of flesh, which is the glory of God, the body of flesh, has to go through, first of all, the suffering, the crucifixion for all these years, and then, in his suffering, work it out for all of us. Be the one to reveal. The revelation is all about revealing what is going on in this planet. And yes, Mark Saxon is in. He's got the Jews have poisoned the whole earth, all life. What would be a fitting punishment for that? Well, exactly. You know, there's no forgiveness. Hello? But these people have been crapping on about forgiveness. That ended a very long time ago. But yes, the wall of weird, I've called it, in this household has ramped up. Yesterday was a classic example. The great big empty. And now, just check the recorder again. I was there.
It's working, yeah.
Wait, is that supposed to be timing, though, to tell you how?
Not this one, no, the other
Not
one.
this one, the other one. All right, because it is recording.
I
Yet,
think you can set it to do that.
oh, all right. Well, and yet, so the card comes up with. Now I kept saying, yeah, I think the angel's trying to make a point. Something else weird, just on that point matter. We cleaned our house for the house inspection. Now I clean the stainless steel kick plate to our oven. Yesterday I was sitting down and I noticed that it was like somebody had grabbed something really sharp, pointed and sharp, and pushed it in to create an indentation in that kick plate on the oven. I'm looking at it and I'm calculating how far along, just by eye, and how far down from the top that this indentation. And I said to Ya, there's a dent on the kick plate to the oven. And I said, it's not been there before, I've just cleaned the thing, and I would notice it. You notice things like that. I'm looking at it and I'm mentally calculating how far it is. It was a point, like you could go over and put your finger in it. So this is what I'm describing to Ya. Like I need a piece of body work now to suck out the something pointed. So Joel and I go for a walk later. I just looked at it and it annoyed me because now the kick plate is not perfect. Joel and I go to the beach and I tell him, I said, do you remember dropping a knife or anything? We were contemplating what could have caused it. And he says, well, I haven't dropped any knives lately. And I said, well, I sure haven't, because I would have done something awful to myself if I dropped a knife, thinking that the point of it would have bounced off the tiles and caused this. No, that didn't happen. So we come back after our walk and we're in the kitchen and Ya says, have you examined the kick plate yet? So I go back down and I sit in my chair. It's gone. I say, Joel, this thing is gone. I walk over, I feel it everywhere, and the kick plate is back to perfect. And that's right. So I think the angels are trying to make a point. Now, the 32 gig card that was empty, re the Rothschild upload, and I'll be doing it again today, 32 is angel. So, yeah, Hero says every day is a miracle, and it is. Weird stuff happens all the time. I mean, there have been times when our computer starts up and we hear a voice speaking very clearly from it. Nothing's playing. Yet that happened years ago. Something happens all the time that... okay, just reading what you guys get saying. Andrew says, when you speak of suffering, I remember telling a friend of mine 20 plus years ago that I believe we are in hell. Well, yes. That was your discernment, and that's exactly right. Jonas says the most painful hell is the knowing people getting murdered overseas, and when you open your mouth they come and arrest you. And now no one can do anything to stop it like he has. No. Jonas, if you don't know, this is in Australia, Sydney, Australia, was at his son's school talking about a case in history. It's all in the history books. 13th century or whatever it was, or earlier, whatever it was, about Simon of Trent. It was a case that's documented. It's in the Catholic archives about the kidnapping of this boy and then the blood sacrificing of him. This is why the Inquisition was going on. It wasn't an Inquisition if we had been led to believe. It was getting to the bottom of the disappearance of Christian children and the bloodletting that is always carried on by the Jews. So anyway, that night he gets a knock at the door, a couple of policemen are there, he was arrested, taken away, and they forced him to have a brain scan. And, yeah, it is. It's Andrew, I have not had any mockers today. He says, too many mockers, Ash. No, haven't had a one. I didn't have one yesterday.
What about that wave that you knocked me over by when I was playing or walking up?
Yeah. Well, Ya's not been feeling well now for going on a week, but yeah, it was about a week ago. We were playing pool, and he suddenly has this pain in his chest. His heart rate goes up, and he goes and sits down. His heart rate goes up to 120 sitting down.
Yeah,
and,
I stumbled.
He stumbled. Yeah, he lost. So, we're wide open here. Did they try again? More than likely, because he's been feeling really off, especially in the stomach. Which is my experience all those years ago, and I know they aimed at me. For 7 weeks my digestive system was up the creek, but that was about it. So Yes, Andrew, I haven't had any mockers today, and it's horrifying. However, Yah has explained before that these that are being slaughtered in the Middle East, in Palestine, this is all on the head of the rulers of the world, and those people, their angels replace them. Just as in the past, the saints who went, their angels replaced them, including myself. I was actually beheaded as Martha, but my angel replaced me. So it's all on the head of the ones that are perpetrating this hell, and it begins with the Rothschild, who has to be the 7 times I was getting at is Solomon, 7 times over. He built the temple with the aid of the demonic world. Hello? What's Rothschild been doing? Building the temple, being the earth, with the aid of the demonic realm, who are well and truly in the wicked, the sons of Cain, and as a race they're called Jews, who are not even Jews.
Now, what I tried to tell the people years ago, and I'll just go on the screen now, this is not just to one individual, this was all of them, right? That the shroud is made up of 2 pieces of cloth. The smaller piece is 88.8 millimetres wide, or 3.5 inches. The larger piece is 39.5. And you'll see by looking at it that the shroud image is in the centre of the larger piece. You put the other piece back on it, then it's off-centre. And it is meticulously sewn. Well, this was just announced by a fellow named Jackson, who led the team in 1978 to examine the shroud at the Vatican, or at the in Turin. This one here is what I'm trying to tell them, that the soul left from the cross, and then it comes back in and goes through the material, not the other way around. And as it's going through the material, that's where the image is formed, while the blood marks are on the inside. So where the pointer is, I'm putting here, on this side and this side is where the blood is, on that side and that side is where the image is. Right? The chromosomes reveal that there are 23 XX chromosomes, female, and 1 Y chromosome. This has also been found by Ron Wyatt when he, on the 6th of January 1982, discovered the Ark of the Covenant directly below where the crucifixion occurred. So, that's how it works.
Yeah, so I'll just continue here. The boys are having their say. Mark says, hell yeah, not for much longer. I believe the earth itself will spew them out. When I look at nature and the animals, I can see that they don't want this evil. They are not taking part in it, only the Jews and their proselytes. And then I responded that the holy angels, the reapers, are on autopilot. This is the gathering first, and the separating of the tares and the wheat, and then once they are cast off, it talks about the righteous shining forth like the noonday sun, or something to that effect.
I'm just showing the image here, how it appears on the cross, and then because it's a negative, once it's developed, that's what it becomes, a white-haired old man, which is what I have on the screen back up here. I go back to it. That's me. That's the image on the shroud, which is me. Identical. Now, we're up to 1248.
Right, now Andrew said only a person with perfect love would have the patience and be willing to go over all the info, numbers and charts countless times. Yah is love. And yes, he is. God is love. And the highest form of intelligence is love. That's what it's all about. And I responded again that the holy angels cast off the earth and out of the kingdom all that offends. And Ross came within exactly the angels. He says, Ray, my angels said the same, already reaping. You can bet they are. But of course, we're not going to be hearing about it while they still control the presses, etc., etc. And frankly, I think what they've tried to do is capture everybody's mind. Well, they've captured everybody's mind through.
Well, you are made in the image of God, so
yes.
therefore, if they can control you and get you thinking in a certain way, they can get you to think miracles.
Mm.
That's what the whole idea is.
Yes. Yeah. So, Beck, what were you saying about the?
That shroud.
Yeah, you're at your end with the shroud.
Well, the whole point is that I'm not here to convince anybody.
No.
My battle is with Lucifer, and its demons have tried to kill me so many times that they are in a panic. Now, the whole idea is to get Lucifer's monsters in a panic because they are all evil. And in a panic, it'll mean their demise because they make mistakes. Right? I don't need any help. I don't need people walking up and down the street with placards or trying to convince anybody. I don't need any of that. It's a done deal.
Yes.
The mere fact I'm here is...
It was over for them.
It's over. As soon as I was born, it was over.
Yeah.
And God, they have tried to start World War III and destroy the world, what Hitler was all about, right? So, what did Hitler say? Unless you stop them.
Unless you stop the Jews, then the earth will be left a lifeless sphere floating through the ether of space.
Right.
So on a brighter side, you'll be pleased to know that today Yah got his cue Q stick. It's not a lipstick, it's a dolphin stick. It's beautiful blue. Do you want to get it? I'll show you. Yah's got his own Q stick now. He bought the lipstick for me. It arrived last week and he has a beautiful blue with dolphins all over it. And he's won his first game with it just this morning. He's getting me back for the comment I made last week that about him having to be on a handicap. Which, I say with tongue in cheek because he always gets me back no matter what goes down. I never take anything for granted at all. But anyway, here is Yah's beautiful new Q stick. These finely pointed.
Run it to the right.
Sway.
A little bit higher. That's it.
There.
Keep going. There's your dolphins.
Dolphins splashing.
Beautiful creature.
Blue. Yes. And it weighs 531 grams. And mine weighs 541 grams. What are these? Yeah. So this has an M on it. Is that for a medium weight or something? Or
Mine.
Marshall.
The number 531 means perpetual.
Perpetual. Okay.
We've got a phone call.
This is very rare. Shall I?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see who it is first. Oh, darling. Hi, darling.
Who is it?
I'm well. How are you? How was I saw the photographs this morning from the party yesterday. Yes.
We forgot to take a lot of them. I wanted to keep trying to do everything set up.
Yes.
Because at the end of the party, we were kept talking, like, oh, crap, we're going to get a camera.
Now, did you make the cake?
Yes.
Oh, it was awesome. What kind of cake? What kind of cake was it though?
The bottom layer was like a chocolate.
Yes.
Chocolate cake, and the top layer was the butter cake.
Oh, okay, that's so that Dad could have some, was it? Or is he's not into a good carrot cake yet? And yeah, Lincoln I'm talking about. Yes.
Well, with that, we'll say adios.
Oh, lovely. Okay, all right. So you've got my timings next week. Yeah.